Welcome back inside the Brogan Hillman show, and today we have a good video. We have the Miami Dolphins full draft grades, all 7 rounds, all of the Miami Dolphins picks. We're going to be going through all of them, and we're going to give each individual pick a grade. If you guys enjoy this video, make sure to subscribe. We're almost at 1,000. But before we get into the video, you already know we have the Bible verse. Today's Bible verse is 2 Timothy 1:7, and it goes, "For the Spirit God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline." This means that do not be scared, do not be timid with all that you do. God built you to have self-discipline. He built you to be powerful. He built you to be full of love, to encourage others, build others up, to be a light in the world and go out, spread his message, and just be an overall force for the Lord. Don't be shy. Don't be afraid to spread his word, but instead be courageous. Go out and spread his goodwill. I love that verse. It's very, very motivating to me, very, very motivating to everyone else that hears it. It just encourages you to go out and do good in the world and do everything that you need to and do his will. Love that verse. But let's get straight into the draft grades, starting off with the very first pick. Miami picked at 21, and they took Chop Robinson. I really like this pick. I gave it a B+. Round 1 pick 21, obviously their first pick in the draft. He's very quick and snappy. His first step is probably the best first step out of all edge rushers, out of all, D lineman rushers in this draft. He is very, very quick off the line, very quick off that first step, very, very versatile. He's a potential week 1 starter, and he adds great depth to that edge room. That edge room is a room that lost like Andrew Van Ginkel. We lost some other guys, Jerome Baker at the linebacking core. We lost some solid defensive pieces, and to go out and pick up a really good one like Chop Robinson in the first round makes a ton of sense. I feel like there's some guys on the board still, but Chop Robinson's value is really, really good at 21. Some had him going lower, some had him going higher, and for us to land him at 21 without moving, trading up, doing anything, I think that's a win for us, and I give this a B+. His downside is a lot of sloppy technique, and he didn't have that much production in college. He didn't have that much stats, but that's something that can be developed. He can work on his technique. He can get more stats in the NFL. We can treat him as a pure rusher on the pass. We can get up and stuff the run. Chop Robinson's a guy that has a ton of potential. He just needs to develop that way into our defense and fit our scheme. I feel like he can be a very, very solid pick at 21, and I like it overall, and I gave it a B+. Our second pick in this draft came in round 2, pick number 55 overall, and he is a stud. Patrick Paul, tackle out of Houston. This is a guy with tremendous size. He's 6'8", 331 pounds. That is insane. He has great size and vitals. He tested very, very well at the combine. Very strong guy. He's a mauler with his hands. Once he gets you on, you do not leave his hands. He's just a guy that is scary to try to go against as an edge rusher. And Chop Robinson versus Patrick Paul in practice, iron sharpens iron. They're going to make each other better each and every day they go against each other. Gonna love to see those matchups coming out of training camp and everything. He is just overall a stud. Some points I have are Teron Armstead's only getting older. He's on his way out, and this is a guy that played left tackle. He also played right tackle. We can play him at right tackle until Teron Armstead's departure. As soon as Teron Armstead departs, maybe we could put him at left tackle, shift up the line some more. He's a guy that can play either or. He will be a tackle though. He's a sure through and through tackle. The only reason I gave this an A- and not really an A or an A+ is because interior O-line was more of our concern going into the draft, and we went out and got a tackle. But I love the pick. Patrick Paul's on the board. He's a stud. You go out and grab him. Great value for a guy of his size. He adds great, tremendous size to this line, strength to this line, and overall just more firm protection for Tua in the pocket. I love the pick. Interior O-line was more the concern. That's the only reason this is really an A-, but I love the Patrick Paul pick. A- is a perfect grade I have for him. I love that. I think he's definitely deserving in that A range. Patrick Paul is overall a stud, and I love him there at 55, so I gave that an A-. The third pick the Dolphins had in the draft was at 120 in the 4th round, a day 3 pick, and it was Jalen Wright. We jumped up to 120, traded out with the Eagles, and we got a running back to add to that room, a fast, speed, elusive back, third elusive back in that running back room, and it's just making for a stacked room. Jalen Wright, he's a perfect fit in the Miami scheme. Again, adds a third back built around explosiveness and elusiveness. This is just amazing. If you pair him with Achane and Mostert, he's just going to learn so much more. He's going to be able to elevate his skills that much more, elevate his play style, all of this, so much more. You have a veteran that plays exactly like him to be able to teach him and teach him how to unlock his full potential. That's exactly what you want. He's a guy that can learn behind Mostert, learn behind HN, and just sit, develop, maybe even put him on return specialist, make him a punt returner, kick returner, let him get some touches, some opportunity in his rookie season, just let him develop his skill set even more. I give this rating a B+. I really like it. He's not the biggest, the most physical guy. Some of his downsides, he has average cuts and change of direction, but he is able to make make men miss in the open field, cut upside, and once he hits that hole, just like our 2 other running backs in that room, he is gone, and you're probably not going to see him until he's doing his dance in the end zone. Jalen Wright, a guy out of Tennessee that I really love. Some more concerns are fumbling, holding onto the ball. He had like 4 fumbles and 200 carries, something like that, which isn't great, but it's also not terrible. 50 carries with a fumble. I mean, it's not the greatest. That's also something that can be worked on, you know, get up that strength, ball carrying strength. It's something that trainers can develop, something your running back coach can develop. So it's not the biggest area of concern. Just got to work on it more and more throughout OTAs, throughout offseason, throughout training camp, all of that. I feel like Jalen Wright will be a guy in the future to see some opportunity, but for now he'll sit, learn, maybe get some return specialists. But I really do like the pick. That's why I gave Jalen Wright a B+. A pick that I wasn't crazy on until I really started looking at it in depth was Muhammad Kamara, pick 158 in the 5th round, another day 3 pick, obviously. Edge rusher out of Colorado State. I was okay with it, but I wasn't too excited until I really looked into this guy and looked into what he was all about, and then I low-key fell in love with him. Pause. Muhammad Kamara is a stud. I mean, we look at all of his vitals, we look at everything. He's a big guy, a big edge rusher. He tied 2nd in FBS last season with sacks with 13 on the season, which is insane. Mountain West Conference Defensive Player of the Year. Conference isn't anything crazy. It's not like a stacked conference, but there's still studs in every single conference, obviously at the FBS level. For him to go out and win that Defensive Player of the Year for that conference, that is telling, and that just shows how much of a stud he is on that edge position. Pair him up with Chop Robinson, your new addition from the 1st round, and we're repairing that room very well, repairing with what we missed. You know, Jalen Phillips coming off an injury, Bradley Chubb's coming off an injury, lost Christian Wilkins, lost Andrew Van Ginkel, lost Jerome Baker, lost all of these guys. Now we're repairing it very well. I love this pick at edge rusher. He whiffs tackles sometimes. He can be too aggressive, which is his downfall sometimes, but you just work on a little more patience, not just straight up bull rushing in every play, and he is a guy that will be set. I mean, he can start potentially day 1. We have a lot of depth, so he probably won't. We won't see the field a crazy amount. We still have a lot of linebackers drafted from a year ago, 2 years ago that haven't seen the field that much, but Muhammad Kamara is a guy that if he develops more and more, he keeps practicing on that patience, practicing on what he knows, building up on his skill set already. He's a guy that will definitely be ready to see the field, and a guy that can make some noise for the Dolphins next season, maybe the season after. Just give him some time to develop and learn. You let him learn behind Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb. That is a very good set to learn behind, not to mention going head to head with Chop Robinson every day. I just love this pick. Muhammad Kamara, he's a stud. He's big, he's aggressive, and he is just very good. I mean, he's forceful getting off the line. He piles through O linemen. He gets through them like it's nothing, and Muhammad Kamara is a stud. I gave this pick an A-, and I really like Muhammad Kamara. When I saw this pick right here, the Dolphins' 5th pick of the draft, pick 184, I was jumping for joy. Malik Washington, A+. I gave this pick an A+, not even thinking about it. Malik Washington is a guy that I had on my hidden gem list. You know the way I talked about him in that video. I had him number 5 on my hidden gem list. I absolutely love Malik Washington. I had him as a 3rd round projected, and he dropped to the 6th round right in the hands of Mike McDaniel and Chris Grier. Oh, I loved it. Such a great pickup. They knew they had to go out and get him when they saw him on the board, and they did. Thank you, Chris Grier and Mike McDaniel. Thank you. I love Malik Washington. Very speedy, elusive receiver, so he fits the mold of what we're building. You know, gives you a wide receiver 4 or 5 option. Will definitely be on return game, return specialist. He's just so quick. He's so good. Ran a 4.3 740. I love it. His production at Virginia was insane. 1,426 yards with 9 touchdowns on top of that. Just great numbers out of Virginia. And he's just a guy. I mean, he's 5'8". He's on the shorter side. And I literally compared him to Tyreek Hill in that Hidden Gem video. I didn't give him a full-on comparison, but I said he's a guy that low-key reminds me of Tyreek Hill the way he plays. And here he is learning behind Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, some other stud veteran receivers. And I just love this pickup. It's going to open up our offense that much more. He fits in perfectly to what they're building there in Miami. And he's just such a great receiver. I mean, his ability to change direction isn't the greatest, but he makes up for it with the way he can contort his body in air, make spectacular catches that you would not see every single day. Kind of like a George Pickens, the way he's able to contort his body and make these insane catches routinely. I love the Malik Washington pick at 184. I gave it an A+ instantly, and I just love the pickup. The 6th player the Dolphins went out and drafted, another 6th rounder at pick 198, just shy of 200, Patrick McMorris. He is a safety. He's out of California. He's a very solid player. I gave this rating a C just because it's nothing crazy. It's like your average depth pickup later on in the rounds. Patrick McMorris is a guy that definitely gives you depth at safety and corner. You can move him down, play some corner. He played 3 different positions, all 3 different positions at that safety. He's more of a slot nickel safety. He provides, depth, again, like I was saying, more coverage all around. If someone goes down, he can fill up a gap in any single safety position. He's just really, really good. He's really versatile, as I was just saying. He's fluid in coverage and he moves very, very well in the backfield. He's not the fastest guy though. If someone runs by him, he's getting burned. He is not hawking them down. He does not have track speed to hawk them down like that. He runs like a 4.57. It's not terrible, but compared to receivers and running backs nowadays, he's not getting any hawks, and he whiffs a lot of tackles. He breaks off a lot of tackles. People just run through him around him, and his arm tackles are low-key his downfall. So if he can just work on arm tackling, become more of a sure tackler, then he might have a spot on the return game as a gunner or something like that. He will definitely be a guy that plays more of a return role, not so much in the secondary. We probably won't see him any action at safety in the near future, or maybe ever. He'll be more of a return specialist guy, maybe a gunner, as I said already, maybe just an edge help, but he definitely won't see the field as much as a safety, as a true safety. But for the 6th round, this is a very good depth pickup. I mean, our corner room has been shallowing out recently. We still do have Jalen Ramsey, but obviously we lost Xavier Howard this offseason. So Patrick McMorris as a guy that can go behind Cam Smith, Jalen Ramsey, all these corners you have, Cater Kohu, just gives you more depth, more options to work with. We also lost Brandon Jones at safety this offseason. You got Javon Holland still. So just play more depth. We need more depth at each position in that secondary, and that's what Patrick McMorris adds here in the 6th round. Nothing out of the ordinary, just your ordinary 6th round depth pickup. That's why I give Patrick Morris an average grade of a C. The final pick of the Miami Dolphins draft at 241 in the 7th round was Taj Washington. Caleb Williams, target out of USC, plays receiver obviously. 2nd receiver taken in this draft class, but we didn't really focus too much on receivers, but we did hit a home run with Malik Washington, if you can tell. So we go out and we get his last name partner in Taj Washington. If one Washington's really good, why wouldn't the other Washington be really good? So Taj Washington, he's a good route runner and he is great with contested catches, just like Malik Washington. He's able to control his body, make great catches midair, go up over people, make catches, go through people, make catches. He's very good in the middle of the field, in the open field with safeties around him, even closing in. Just contested catches are his sweet spot. That is more of his specialty. He's not that fast of a receiver. He runs in the 4.5s, which isn't terrible again, but it's not super fast for a receiver. He does not create a lot of separation off his routes, but he is a good route runner. Again, contested catches make up for that fact though. And he's just a guy overall that would be more of a return specialist as well. I think our return game definitely took a buff up this draft class because we got more guys that can go in at gunner, can go in as returner, can go in as a protector, and they can just go make things happen on the kick return, especially with the new kick return rules coming in 2024 for the 2024-25 season. Taj Washington's a guy that'll be more of a returner again. He has shorter arms and smaller hands compared to a lot of receivers and a lot of guys in this draft class. He's just overall not going to be able to create a lot of separation, like I said already. He's not downfield. He's not a good deep threat. He gets shaken up by some DBs in the secondary. I mean, Taj Washington's a guy that won't see the field as a true receiver, just like Patrick McMorris probably won't see the field as a true safety, but we got guys to buff up in depth in those positions, in each of their respected positions, serve more as a return specialist, in the return game, the kickoff game, just more depth overall, guys you can have fill that roster and just be there as necessary weapons, viable options. They're all studs, obviously, that's why they're getting drafted, and they're all very, very good players that made noise in college. I do like the Taj Washington pickup, but again, just like the Patrick McMorris pick, I have this as a C, just an average pickup in your later round for depth and everything. The same exact situation as Patrick McMorris, just at receiver flipping the side of the ball. I give Taj Washington a C rating. If you guys enjoyed this video, then make sure to like, subscribe, share it with a friend. We're almost at 1,000, but most importantly, keep God number one. I love you all so much. It's been Brogan Hillman, and I'm out.